Saskatchewan is no longer whispering in the shadows. It's speaking loudly, boldly, and with a fire that Ottawa can no longer afford to ignore. Premier Scott Moe has sent shockwaves across Canada after openly hinting that his province might follow Alberta's defiant path, and this isn't just idle talk. Behind the scenes, documents, strategy meetings, and tense phone calls point toward a new era of confrontation between the Prairie provinces and Prime Minister Mark Carney's government in Ottawa. For weeks, political insiders have been buzzing about Alberta's dramatic decision to challenge the very foundations of Confederation. Danielle Smith set the stage with her bold threats, her open rejection of Ottawa's influence, and her readiness to stake Alberta's future on independence. Many dismissed it as Alberta's unique brand of political theater, loud, dramatic, but ultimately contained. But now Saskatchewan is stirring, and that changes everything. Because Saskatchewan isn't Alberta. It doesn't have the same flashy oil sands narrative, nor the same headline-grabbing persona as Danielle Smith, but what it does have is quiet determination, deep frustration, and a population that increasingly feels ignored by the East. When Scott Moe hints that he's ready to pull his province closer to Alberta's orbit, the entire country should be paying attention. Let's be honest. Western alienation isn't new. For decades, Prairie voices have cried out about unfair treatment, about federal policies that gut local industries, about Ottawa funneling resources to Ontario and Quebec, about decisions made in boardrooms thousands of miles away from the farms, oil fields, and towns that actually keep Canada's economy moving. But what's different today is the momentum. The spark that Alberta lit is threatening to ignite into a wildfire. And Saskatchewan might just be the fuel. Premier Scott Moe is not a man known for reckless words. He's cautious, deliberate, and far less theatrical than Danielle Smith. That's what makes his latest warning so powerful. Because when Moe stands at a podium and says Saskatchewan is prepared to chart its own path if Ottawa continues to ignore the West, it doesn't sound like bluster. It sounds like intent. Behind closed doors, sources suggest that Moe's government is already studying Alberta's moves. Everything from pension withdrawals to policing powers, from resource royalties to federal tax carve-outs is on the table. Saskatchewan officials are in active contact with their Alberta counterparts, exploring just how far this prairie partnership could go. Some even say confidential memos are circulating in Regina that openly outline scenarios for partial autonomy, or, in the most extreme cases, complete separation. Now here's where the tension spikes. Prime Minister Mark Carney, who has styled himself as a steady hand in turbulent times, is facing a nightmare scenario. A country that once boasted of its unity now finds two major provinces openly questioning their membership in Confederation. And Carney knows this isn't just about politics. This is about money, resources, and power. Because if Alberta and Saskatchewan join forces, they control not only massive energy reserves, but also critical agricultural exports that feed much of North America. That's not just leverage, it's a weapon. And let's not forget the international dimension. South of the border, President Donald Trump is watching all of this with keen interest. For years, Trump has hinted that the U.S. would welcome a stronger partnership with Western Canada, especially when it comes to energy. Imagine, for a moment, the geopolitical earthquake if Saskatchewan and Alberta aligned themselves more closely with Washington than with Ottawa. Oil flowing south at preferential rates, American dollars pouring into prairie infrastructure, and Trump standing at a rally proclaiming that the real energy future of North America lies in the hands of our friends in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Does that sound far-fetched? Not anymore. Back home, though, ordinary Canadians are left wondering, how did it get this far? How did we reach a point where the Premier of Saskatchewan feels emboldened enough to openly threaten Ottawa? The answer lies in years of tension, capped off by Carney's aggressive climate agenda, his insistence on federal authority over provincial resource development, and his refusal to bend under prairie pressure. To Carney, central control is stability. To Moe and Smith, it's suffocation. And that's why this moment feels so volatile. Because when two sides view the same issue not just differently but as matters of survival, compromise becomes almost impossible. Saskatchewan feels survival depends on reclaiming control from Ottawa. Ottawa feels survival depends on keeping the Federation intact. Those two visions cannot coexist without a clash. What's truly alarming for Carney is the ripple effect. If Saskatchewan follows Alberta, what's stopping Manitoba from considering its options? What if British Columbia, already wrestling with its own federal frustrations, decides to play both sides? Suddenly, you don't just have one rogue province making noise. You have the entire West potentially rallying together, creating a political crisis that could tear Canada apart. This is why political insiders are calling this moment a ticking time bomb. Saskatchewan doesn't need to make a dramatic declaration tomorrow. All it needs to do is keep hinting, keep threatening, and keep aligning itself with Alberta. Every step Mo takes closer to Smith is another crack in the foundation of Canadian unity. And cracks, if ignored, always spread. So where does this leave us tonight? We stand at the edge of a question that was once unthinkable. Could Saskatchewan really break away? Could Premier Scott Moe actually pull his province toward the same storm Alberta has unleashed? The signs suggest it's no longer just speculation, it's a real possibility. And the longer Carney refuses to shift course, the louder Saskatchewan's voice will grow. Viewers, I want you to think about this carefully. If Alberta and Saskatchewan form a united front, they hold a card Ottawa cannot match: resources, energy, agriculture, and sheer economic power. And if Trump is standing at the sidelines, ready to embrace them, that card becomes even stronger. This is not just politics, this is the beginning of what could become a continental shift. And yet, in the middle of all this, Scott Moe continues to play his cards carefully. He's not Danielle Smith, he won't shout and grab headlines, but his quiet warnings might be even more dangerous, because they're not designed to make noise, they're designed to prepare. What many people overlook in this rising storm is the battle inside Saskatchewan itself, because while Premier Scott Moe speaks of autonomy, not every voice in the province is cheering. Farmers in rural communities may see Ottawa's policies as a direct threat to their way of life, but in cities like Saskatoon and Regina, there's hesitation, even fear. Urban voters worry about instability, about losing federal support, about pensions and healthcare being thrown into chaos. This divide between rural and urban Saskatchewan could become the Premier's greatest challenge. Not Carney, not Smith, not even Trump. Imagine the pressure cooker Moe now finds himself in. Every move he makes is under scrutiny. If he pushes too hard, he risks alienating moderates who want reform but not revolution. If he pulls back, he risks losing the momentum of a base that has grown restless and impatient. And here's the dangerous part. Once expectations are raised, it's nearly impossible to put that genie back in the bottle. Ottawa is watching these divisions closely. Insiders say Carney's team is already exploring ways to exploit Saskatchewan's urban-rural split, pouring federal funds into cities while painting Moe as reckless and unstable. The hope in Ottawa is simple: fracture the province from within before it can join Alberta's cause. But here's the twist. Division doesn't always weaken a movement. Sometimes it fuels it, because when people feel their voices are dismissed or mocked, resentment hardens into resolve. And that's the gamble Mark Carney may be underestimating. Saskatchewan's internal tensions could either tear the province apart or unite it in a wave of defiance stronger than anything we've seen yet. So today the question hangs heavy. Is Saskatchewan rising to take its place beside Alberta in open defiance of Ottawa? Or is this all one calculated bluff to force Mark Carney's hand? Either way, the country is on edge, and the outcome could change Canada forever. Because once a province crosses that line, even in words, there's no going back. And Saskatchewan has just crossed it. Saskatchewan